transfer portal. My after my sophomore season, I had actually went down to Colorado and and met Shedeur. He's a great guy, a great leader. I just cannot wait to build that relationship, build that and build that connection with them.
Yo, did you just see what I saw? Because if you blinked, you missed the most telling 30 seconds to come out of Cleveland, Ohio, since the Browns actually won a playoff game, and we all know how long ago that was. I'm Dre Fiver, this is Overtime Reports, and we are diving in, no floaties, no life jacket, because what just happened inside that Browns facility is not just a feel-good rookie story. This is a seismic signal. This is the NFL equivalent of reading the room, and the room is telling you everything. A first-round pick number 24 overall, fresh off draft night, still probably smelling like confetti. And the first thing he does at his first Browns media session is bring up Shedeur Sanders, not Deshaun Watson, not the coaching staff, not the offensive scheme, Shedeur. And if you think that's an accident, I genuinely need you to sit down, because we need to have a conversation about how football actually works. Wide receiver Casey Concepcion out of Texas A&M by way of NC State revealed during his first day at the Browns facility that he had actually visited Colorado while navigating the transfer portal after his sophomore season. And that's where he first met Shedeur Sanders face to face. He didn't make this up on the spot. This wasn't coached media spin. In his own words, reported by News 5 Cleveland, Concepcion told assembled media he's a great guy, a great leader. I just cannot wait to build that relationship, build that connection with him. Now, let me translate that from receiver speak into plain English for everybody in the back. When a first round pick, a guy who could have gone to any team in the league, a guy with options, when that guy walks into his very first press conference and leads with admiration for a specific quarterback, that is not small talk. That is a statement. That is a declaration, and the name he declared was not number 4, it was number 2. And let me give you the full backstory here, because this connection goes deeper than draft night.
Well, it started today. Earlier this morning, our guys, their diligence, note-taking, being collaborative in the meeting rooms, okay, embracing the learning process, taking it from the classroom to the walk to the field, practicing with each other, the juice, all of that.
Concepcion spent his freshman and sophomore years at NC State before he entered the transfer portal. When he was evaluating his options, he made a visit down to Colorado, Shedeur's house, Shedeur's program, Shedeur's world. He ultimately chose Texas A&M, but he walked away from Boulder with something that no depth chart or playbook can manufacture: a real relationship with a real quarterback. And now, against what feels like every odds the universe could stack against it, those two men ended up in the same building, wearing the same uniform in Cleveland, Ohio. You cannot script that. The ancestors were working overtime on that one. Now, here's where the story gets even deeper, because this isn't just about one rookie's pre-existing relationship. This is about an entire ecosystem shifting inside that building. On the very first day of Cleveland Browns' voluntary minicamp under new head coach Todd Monken, Shedeur Sanders was first man up. That's a direct quote from Monken himself. Sanders received the opening snaps with the first team unit in 11-on-11 drills. And according to reports out of Berea, the structure was a deliberate recommendation from quarterbacks coach Mike Bajakian, a plan specifically designed to give Shedeur the most reps while both he and Deshaun Watson worked with the starters. Read that again. The plan was structured for Shedeur to lead. That is not an accident of scheduling. That is an organizational signal being sent in 4K resolution to anyone paying attention. And Dre's personal opinion, I've been watching football long enough to know that when a coaching staff starts the very first practice of their very first minicamp by putting a 5th round pick, now a second-year quarterback, ahead of a man who got paid $230 million, something has already been decided in somebody's mind. I'm not saying it's official. I'm not saying Monken called a press conference and handed Shedeur the keys. But I am saying that energy travels, culture travels, And right now, the energy inside that Browns building is pointing in one direction, and it ain't toward number 4. Monken said something in that press conference that I need everybody to sit with. He was asked about what he's looking for from the quarterbacks, what separates one from the other in his evaluation. And he said, and I'm paraphrasing here, that it's not just what they do on the field. It's the belief system. It's who has the ball in their hands on every single play. That's the standard. That's the measuring stick. And Shedeur Sanders, as reported out of Berea, has been in Cleveland grinding through the entire offseason, not just attending, not just showing up, but actually building, learning, growing. And according to Monken, functioning at the line of scrimmage with command and poise that impressed the entire coaching staff on day one. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, because you cannot tell this story without addressing the man on the other side of this quarterback competition, Deshaun Watson. And listen, Dre is not here to pile on a man for his personal life. That's not what this channel does. But when we talk about football, about leadership, about building the kind of locker room trust that turns a struggling franchise around, the numbers and the narrative both tell the same story, and it is not a flattering one. According to reporting from Cleveland's own Terry Pluto of the Plain Dealer, Watson's fully guaranteed $230 million contract didn't just drain the salary cap. It reportedly created significant locker room issues that festered for years. Think about that. The man hadn't even played a full season, and the financial weight of his deal was already fracturing the culture of the building. And when all-pro pass rusher Myles Garrett, the face of that defense, one of the best players in the entire NFL, went public with a trade request following the 2024 season, reporters who covered that team closely suggested that Watson's contract situation was a significant part of what drove Garrett to that breaking point. That's not nothing. That is your best player telling you with his trade request that something is fundamentally broken. Watson, to his credit, has been showing up. He worked out with Jerry Jeudy in South Florida before the off-season program began. He has been doing the physical work required to return from not one but 2 torn Achilles injuries, which I will give the man his credit. That kind of recovery alone is a testament to how hard he's working. But here's what Drake keeps coming back to. Working out in South Florida is not the same as commanding a locker room. Throwing routes on a private field with one receiver is not the same as walking into a huddle of 22 men who have quietly, collectively already made up their minds about who their quarterback is. And that's exactly what former NFL quarterback Robert Griffin III put into words recently when he appeared as an analyst and addressed the Browns quarterback situation directly. Griffin, who wore Browns uniform himself back in 2016, said plainly that the Cleveland locker room believes they can win with Shedeur Sanders. And then he said something that should send a chill down the spine of every Deshaun Watson supporter left in America. He said that same locker room does not believe they can win with Deshaun Watson, and that according to Griffin means the job should be Shedeur's to lose, his words, not Dre's, though Dre agrees 100%. Here's what separates a real leader from a guy who just has a good arm. At that first minicamp practice, Shedeur threw a go ball to Malachi Coley down the right sideline. Coley slowed on his route. The pass fell incomplete, and you know what Shedeur did? He didn't sulk. He didn't stare at the turf. He immediately found Coley, locked eyes with him, and according to Shedeur's own account, after practice, delivered the message clearly, "Hey bro, we can't afford that. That is a quarterback operating like a starter before he has even been named one. That is a man holding his teammates to a standard in the very first meaningful practice of the year." And when reporters asked Shedeur about it afterward, he didn't shy away. He called it an opportunity for accountability. His word, accountability. You know who uses that kind of language? Winners. Now let me bring this full circle back to Concepcion, because that's where this all started and that's where it's all heading. The Browns used 2 first-round picks in the 2026 draft. Pick 9 went to offensive tackle Spencer Fano out of Utah, protecting the quarterback, building the line. Pick 24 went to Concepcion out of Texas A&M, giving the quarterback a weapon. Both picks were made in service of whoever wins that quarterback competition. But let me ask you something. When was the last time you heard a first-round receiver walk into a facility and immediately start talking about building a connection with the veteran incumbent? Because KC didn't do that. KC talked about Shedeur, and as reported by multiple outlets covering that press conference, Concepcion already has history with Sanders going back to that Colorado visit. History the Browns organization almost certainly knew about when they made that pick. And before anybody comes into these comments talking about drops, yes, Concepcion had drop issues at Texas A&M. His drop rate was above 10% last season. That's real. That's a legitimate concern. But you know what Browns general manager Andrew Berry said about it? He compared the situation to nearly every elite receiver in the league and essentially said that catching in practice, catching in games, and developing that reliability is exactly what the coaching staff is paid to fix. He described Concepcion as a dynamic producer and an electric force with the ball in his hands. And when you pair that kind of explosive after the catchability with a quarterback who already has a relationship with him, a quarterback who already knows how to talk to him, push him, hold him accountable, you've got the foundation of something real. Here's the bigger picture. Here's what all of these pieces, the draft picks, the minicamp reps, the Colorado connection, the locker room sentiment, are actually telling us when you step back and look at the whole painting. The Cleveland Browns, whether they've officially admitted it or not, are building around Shedeur Sanders. They drafted an offensive tackle to protect him. They drafted a receiver who already has a relationship with him. They put him first in line on day one of minicamp. Their own locker room has reportedly already picked a side, and their new head coach, Todd Monken, one of the most respected offensive minds in football, a man who helped build some of the most efficient passing attacks in the NFL over the last decade, chose to bring in a receiver in Concepcion, who fits almost exactly the profile of the players Monken has historically used to build dynamic offenses. As reported by analysts who covered Monken's time in Baltimore, Concepcion was specifically compared to Zay Flowers, the type of quick-twitch, explosive, chess piece receiver that Monken deployed to devastating effect when he was coordinating one of the most productive offenses in the league. And Dre's personal opinion, when a coordinator turned head coach drafts the exact receiver prototype he used to build his best offense, and that receiver walks in the door already talking about the young quarterback you're quietly anointing, that is not a coincidence. That is a blueprint being assembled in real time. The Watson era in Cleveland is winding down, whether anybody wants to say it out loud or not. He has 19 regular season starts for the Browns across 4 years, 19. He's posted a total QBR that would rank dead last among qualified passers in the league. He has missed time due to suspension, due to injury, due to a second Achilles tear that happened during rehabilitation from the first one. The financial damage of that $230 million fully guaranteed deal will follow this franchise for years. But here's the thing, the Browns can absorb that damage. What they cannot afford to do is let the ghost of that contract determine their football decisions for one more single second. And right now, every sign coming out of Berea suggests they have finally made their peace with that. Shedeur Sanders came into this league as a 5th-round pick, one of the biggest draft day snubs in recent memory. He started 7 games as a rookie. He went 3-4. His numbers weren't spectacular, but he won games. He held his teammates accountable on the field. He stayed in Cleveland through the entire offseason. He was first man up on day one of minicamp. And now he has a first-round wide receiver who visited him in Colorado, who texted him before the draft, who walked into his very first press conference and said in front of every camera and microphone in that room that he cannot wait to build that connection with him. That is how you write a comeback story, one relationship at a time. So let's be clear about what this is and what this isn't. This is not a coronation. Shedeur Sanders has not been handed the starting job. Todd Monken will run his competition through OTAs, through training camp, through the preseason. Deshaun Watson will get his reps. Dylan Gabriel, God bless him, will also be in there doing his best. This is a football team trying to figure out its future, and the process has to play out, but perception in this league is powerful. Culture is powerful, momentum is powerful, and right now every single current of momentum inside that Cleveland Browns building is running in the same direction toward number 2, toward Shedeur Sanders, toward the young man who visited Boulder with big dreams and now finds himself with a first-round receiver who still remembers the conversation they had back in Colorado. Cleveland, something special might actually be building on the shores of Lake Erie. Don't sleep on it. That's the Breakdown family. Concepcion walked into that facility and told the world exactly who he believes in, and it wasn't the $230 million man. It was a 5th-round pick who refused to let the draft day disrespect define him. Shedeur Sanders is building something real in Cleveland, one relationship at a time, one practice at a time, one moment of accountability at a time, and Dre Fiverr is going to be right here every single step of the way, documenting every chapter as it unfolds. If this video hit different, and I know it did, smash that like button right now. Don't think about it. Don't wait for the chorus. Hit it. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Do you believe Shedeur Sanders is going to be the Cleveland Browns starting quarterback week 1 of the 2026 season? Let me know where you stand. And if you are not yet subscribed to Overtime Reports, what are you doing with your life? Hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, because when the next chapter of this story drops, and it is coming fast, you need to be in the building. I'm Dre Fiverr. Stay locked in.